It is November the 10th, and today I have a story for you about the law of polarity. There's a lady I worked with the Coast Guard years ago. Her and I met when we worked in Prince Rupert, and we were shift partners for the 8 years I worked in Prince Rupert, off and on shift partners, and when I transferred to Comox, as well as when I transferred to Victoria, we worked together in those centres as well. And so it was an operations room where we talked to people who were on the water, and in some cases aircraft, and we were like the 911 on the water, for the water. So when her and I would come on shift, especially if there was a storm happening, you know, wind is howling, and you're hoping that anybody that's got to be on the water when it's stormy like that will take extra care. So when her and I would come into the ops room and take over the watch, shortly thereafter, once everybody else left from like the day shift or the night shift left, we would look at each other, and words did not need to be spoken. We would both immediately ground ourselves and choose to focus on peace. And 9 times out of 10, the shift went by peaceful. No emergencies. Nobody, getting into trouble in one way or another. And that was over a course. Her and I worked together for 20 or more, 25 years. It was marvelous. And other people would come into the ops room to either take over the watch from us, or anyway, in Victoria there were 17 different operating positions. It was a busy, busy centre. So there's a lot of people coming and going. And some of those people would come into the ops room and they would, it was like, do you remember the cartoon, the Peanuts cartoon with, what was his name, Charles Schulz, who wrote the Snoopy and Charlie Brown stories? Well, one of the characters was, it's a strange analogy that's coming now. One of the characters was called Pigpen, and Pigpen was a little boy who hung out with the group, and this cloud of dust and debris dirt traveled around with him, and he was called Pigpen. Well, some of the people that came on watch had a very, let's say frantic has come into mind, a high anxiety energy that was crackling around them. And with the words they spoke and their presence, it was the complete opposite of peace. And as soon as their feet touched the ops room floor, shit started to go sideways. And you could see it coming as soon as they walked into the big operations room. And it's like, oh, hold the peace, hold the peace. Two sides, the two ends of polarity. So I made some notes. Polarity exists so that source can know itself. I don't know which, like I've got the camera, I finally figured out through some help the other day to be able to have the camera horizontal and not have just the little tiny frame and then grayed or greened out in the middle. You don't need to know this. Hum-lama-lama. So I don't know which, like the camera is over on the far side of the, anyway, doesn't matter. Yeah, so the notes I've made, polarity exists so that source can know itself. When we attach to drama, polarity feels like conflict. When peace becomes the priority, the poles, like the battery, like the negative and positive on a battery, When peace becomes a priority, the poles become closer together. And when the poles resonate with each other, when they're close enough together that there's no vast difference between them, we experience unity. And this is the beginning of the understanding of the law of one. Cool. Have fun. Let me know what you think, and we'll talk to you again.